In June 1988, 25-year-old Philip Fraser was doing what many of us have done, chasing a fresh start. He was driving from his home in Anchorage, Alaska, down to Washington State to begin his pre-med studies. He had his whole life packed into the back of his Volkswagen Jetta and a bright future ahead of him. But at a remote cafe called the 40 Mile Flats, Philip made a decision. It was a choice born out of kindness. The kind of choice we're told defines a good person. He picked up a hitchhiker. What happened next isn't just a story of a roadside tragedy. It's a descent into a chilling game of impersonation. While Philip's family waited for a phone call that would never come, a stranger was driving his car, using his name, and telling his stories to unsuspecting locals, all while Philip lay in a remote gravel pit miles away. 38 years later, we know what happened to Philip Fraser, but we still don't know who the man in the passenger seat really was. My name is Jeff, aka GCurse. Join me as we view another case from Unsolved Mysteries in this installment of Unsolved Mysteries Commentary. I'm actually kind of glad to finally being able to cover this case because this case sticks with me for two real reasons. This case, one of the reasons basically, is that this case kind of confirms what I always believe. And what I believe is that this planet, or this world, whatever you like to call it, I think it actually devours. I think it devours the good people. The people who actually don't mean any harm, this planet will devour and destroy, while everybody else is basically left to rot up here on the surface and basically fight over whatever scraps there are left. Another reason that this case sticks with me so much is this case is a perfect example of like isolation. The producers of this episode, or this case, the producers of this case really wanted to go for like an empty feeling. They did a lot of shots of like wide open areas. This case literally takes place on a highway, and this highway is reported to not be that used, and that it really showed in this video. It really showed. I appreciate what they did with this case film, with the way that it was filmed. They could have literally shown like a busy highway. They could have, but they went with a more authentic, empty, lonely road, and it's really shown in the sweeping vistas that they basically had. I love it. I love it. It's just a sad shame that for such visual pleasure that this case has, it actually came at the cost of Philip Fraser being brutally murdered. I think one could even say that this highway is indeed its own entity in this case. But enough about that. Enough of me basically talking and kind of gushing over the filming style of this case. Here is the promo that showed just before the show started when this case debuted. Here it is right here.
The breathtaking beauty of Canada's Yukon Territory has captivated travelers for generations. But when Philip Fraser of Anchorage, Alaska, picked up a lone hitchhiker, the wilderness became the gateway to a nightmare.
Okay, so that gives you a little bit of an idea what it is that you're going to be able to experience in this upcoming case. So let's get to that case right about now. Okay, here we are. The video is loaded up. I have my headphones on right about now. Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Alaska, America's last frontier. Highway 1 is its lifeline. a thin asphalt ribbon which cuts through Canada's Yukon Territory to connect Alaska to the continental United States.
Little known fact to those who do not know me, I have a major fear of actually driving. I used to have a vehicle that was given to me by my mom after she passed away. But I'm afraid of driving. It's something I've never been able to conquer, and I ended up giving my vehicle to a friend who works with me in the school district, and they're actually making good use of the vehicle. So I'm kind of happy that my gift is actually helping them. If I did not have that fear of driving, I would actually have loved to try driving all the way from Alaska back to Kelso via this long empty highway, because like I kind of mentioned in the introduction to this video, they use a lot of panning shots. Oh, is panning the right word? A lot of vistas, I guess you could say, and it is so beautiful. You wouldn't expect somebody like me, somebody who looks very mean and tough. I'm just kidding with you. To use word like breathtaking and so forth.
On June 14, 1988, 25-year-old Philip Fraser, the son of two physicians, left his home in Anchorage to enroll in a pre-med course at Evergreen College in Washington State. Philip had packed up everything he owned for the trip.
Okay, I'm going to those who do not know, this is something I do. I do kind of pause the video a lot. It's to make this transformative, but I also want to show something. So I know you can't really see it. Hold on, let me do this. Let's see here. There you go. So here you have just one of those scenes. It isn't as breathtaking as some other scenes, but this is kind of what I'm talking about, where it actually shows a wide out shot of Philip driving down this highway. It is freaking beautiful. But on the same hand, it's also kind of, is claustrophobic the right word when you're alone by yourself on a highway?
Including two handguns. On June 17th, after losing 2 days to car trouble, Philip crossed the border into Canada.
Okay, once again, here is look at that. Look at how beautiful that is. Here, let me change my camera. There it goes. Look at how beautiful that is. You can actually see the mountains in the background. You have all the trees. You only have a couple buildings that is in view. This, like I said, to me, you get it. It isn't until you see stuff like this that it makes you feel kind of small and lonely, basically. But yeah, it's just, oh my God, I love this case. I don't like what happened to Philip, because nobody deserves to be ruthlessly killed like that. But I can really love how the producers of the show wanted to try and incorporate, the images of nature and everything in this case to kind of really show how alone Philip was during this journey. The one question I often ask myself as I've watched this case over and over again is, I cannot help but wonder, if they allowed Philip to keep those two guns, would he have still been alive today?
Hi, where are you coming from?
Alaska?
Alaska. Where are you headed?
Washington. I'm a student.
Going to school down there then?
Yeah.
Anything on board, any goods that you purchased that you're bringing across?
Just my books and things like that for school.
At Beaver Creek, Philip was entering into Canada from Alaska into our Yukon Territory. And Philip did declare that he had two firearms of his own. And at that point, our Canada Customs people seized the firearms from him, as it is illegal for Americans to enter Canada with any kind of a firearm.
Once again, how can you not look at a view like this and just be, kind of like in awe, Not only is it a different scene, but now they add fog. The fog is really kind of, I'm guessing you could say it's kind of a forewarning, I guess you could really say. He is going into the unknown, which is the fog, and we don't know what's in the unknown. Sadly, Philip actually ran across what is inside the fog, basically.
After a 1-hour delay, Philip Fraser was on his way. His guns became the property of the Canadian government.
That's the one thing I kind of it's one thing I kind of disagree with. I understand them taking his guns when he entered their country. They have rules. Every country has rules. What I think they should do is, if like you forfeit your weapons to them when you go into the country, but when you're leaving the country, let's say he's going back to Alaska, they should give him his weapons then, or if he actually safely made it to Washington, he should have had his weapons sent to him. I just don't like the fact that if you go to a country, they automatically keep your weapons. I just don't I don't like that practice. They should have kept it for him until he showed that he is through their territory. Yeah, there may be a little bit of time for the weapons to get to him in Washington, but to me that's a better compromise for me, at least, than basically them just keeping them outright.
The next day, 600 miles south of the border checkpoint, a hitchhiker was dropped off at the 40-mile flat café owned by Gay Frockledge. Gay and her daughter Tina were on duty.
The individual that dropped him off didn't come into the cafe, just dropped him off and left. And just looking at him through the window, there was something wrong. There was something wrong with him, in appearance, wasn't comfortable. And I said to Tina, we've got a winner here. There's something wrong with this guy.
Could it be now we all know that this is the guy that killed Philip Fraser. But let's say that in an alternate universe, alternate reality, whatever you want to call it. Let's say that Philip actually survived. He survived. He made his trek all the way to Washington. He became a doctor just like his mom and dad. Could, Gay and Tina, could their perception of this individual, could it be shaped by the fact that they're kind of way out there in the frontier without much interactions with people? I always think that the longer you're alone from everybody, the easier it is for you to start getting paranoid about people. And that's one thing about me, being a loner. I do work, but when I'm off the clock, I'm by myself. And I can't help but think, look at people and be a little bit paranoid. So I'm wondering if their paranoia regarding this individual, if it was also shaped by their isolation.
I remember saying to Mom, maybe he escaped from a mental institution because he was so strange.
I think we got a problem here.
Yeah, you gonna stick around?
Yeah, I think I better. I'd best not leave you alone. I wouldn't leave her alone in the building with him, as there was nobody else there at the time. And so I said to Tina, well, you go ahead and take care of him, and I'll just hang around.
I'm wondering if Tina and Gay Frockledge, if they actually had some sort of protection inside the cafe, maybe a gun or something. I can't help but think that if I had a business like that, I would definitely be carrying some sort of protection, especially if it was just me. Who knows what can happen when you're, hundreds of miles away from, civilization, and you're by yourself all the time.
As I passed the side window, I seen a small black car pull up right to the side of the cafe.
I actually did some research about this because I noted it in my opening monologue. I was kind of curious what this is, and using AI and doing other research on the internet, come to find out this is a 1983 black Volkswagen Jetta. I know that really doesn't matter in long run, but I'm a little bit of a fan of cars, even though I'm afraid to drive. I love cars, I love the way that they look, and I always looked at this car, I'm like, I wonder what that kind of looks like, because I originally thought it was a Toyota. I thought it was a Toyota for some reason, but nope, it's a Volkswagen.
And the young man in the car didn't didn't get out of the car, but proceeded to act like he was searching his car, like he had misplaced something that he needed. During this time was when another vehicle pulled up to the service station. Yeah, Tina, there's a car at the pumps. Do you want to serve him gas? And I'll just stay in here.
Okay, sure.
Tina Frockledge went to the parking lot to pump gas for another customer. She and Philip Fraser exchanged hellos.
I can't help but wonder, like, what it was that he was looking for in that car, because if I remember, I think she hasn't said it yet, but or maybe she did, I just didn't realize it. But Gay Frockledge, she said that he was kind of looking around in the car and stuff, like he was looking for something. I'm wondering what it was that he was actually looking for. As somebody who deals with anxiety like I do, I was diagnosed with having a severe case of anxiety when I was going to college. For me, I literally have to like check all the time to make sure I have everything that I need. Like, say if I go to work, or even when I was going to college. So I can't help but, think about Philip if I was in his place. I'd hate the thought of driving that for that long to go, to go to Washington and everything. But be, as far into Canada as Philip was, and then he realizes he forgot, like, say, a vital piece of paper for his entry into college or whatever, that would drive me nuts.
Is that everything?
Yeah.
Gay and Tina were relieved when the hitchhiker finished his meal. They remember that he paid his bill in Canadian money.
I watched the hitchhiker go out and approach Fraser.
Where you heading? Down south?
Yeah, I'm heading that way too.
Good.
And how about a ride?
If this was me, if I still had my vehicles and, I was driving somewhere and some guy goes, "Oh, I'm going that way too. Can I drive?" My answer would be no. I've seen a lot of slasher-based movies. I've seen Unsolved Mysteries. You do not give hitchhikers rides. There is a reason that it is explicitly told, do not give hitchhikers rides. You don't know who it is that you're giving a ride to. There's a chance that they may actually be a very nice guy or a nice person. But then there's a chance that they could be a ravenous fucking lunatic. You don't know who you're picking up. It's like a game of Russian roulette when you pick up a hitchhiker. This actually reminds me of a case. I can't recall who they are or what the name of it is. So let's do some research, shall we? And this is the one thing I love about doing this type of podcast. All right, is this really a podcast? Here, let's put this over here. Is this really a podcast? I always get that confused, but there was a case about two Swedish hitchhikers. I like it when they can actually predict what I'm going to say. Swedish hitchhikers, Unsolved Mysteries. Oh, Marie. Okay, here it is. Marie Lilienberg and Maria Wallen. I apologize if I got their names wrong. Basically, what we have here are two hitchhikers. These ladies were actually good hitchhikers. It's just the fact that the person that picked them up were actually a killer. And that's one thing I didn't kind of mention just now. You don't know if the hitchhikers you're picking up are good or bad, or or they're going to hurt you or not. But there's also a chance if you're a good hitchhiker, who knows what the driver is that is going to pick you up. You don't know if they're a good person, or it could be a psychopath like the person who actually killed these two ladies in July. I think it was, I'm not sure if this was when the bodies were found or if this was when they were killed, but July 22nd, 1983. Let's just do a quick check at the bottom. I don't think this case has ever been solved. Has it been solved? Nope, it's been still unsolved. It's still been solved. So this case, just like the Philip Fraser case, this case has never been solved.
I gotta go in here yet.
You sure?
Yeah.
All right.
The car sat for a few minutes, and then he pulled ahead like he had second thoughts.
This is the biggest mistake. Oh, hold on, let me fix this. Hold on. There it goes. This is the biggest mistake that Philip Fraser actually made. You know, I think if he did not do this, he would have lived to see another day. But it's like I said, this planet devours the good people. He thought, well, maybe I'll just be nice and give this guy a ride, and look what it cost Philip. One moment of kindness can ruin everything down the road.
Still heading in this direction? Thought you were gonna have a bite to eat. Mind if I go with you? It was all
The
right if I-
hitchhiker just ran beside him, and
The moment that he opened up Philip's door like that, if that was me, I wouldn't have even stopped. I would have just kept driving, let him walk his ass to wherever he wants to go. I would not have stopped, but let's just say for some reason, like say there was a car in front of me, there was a deer or something. For some reason I had to stop, but it wasn't because of him. If I had to stop and he walks up and he opens up my door, I would have gunned the fucking engine. I would not allow him to have gotten into my vehicle. And sadly, this is where kind of me and Philip, we kind of differ. And we all sadly know what ended up, happening to Fraser.
pulled the door open, and
Or
the
Philip Fraser.
young man in the car proceeded to let him enter.
Big mistake. Tina, the mom says something that Tina actually says in, coming up pretty quickly. And oh my God, it was so goddamn prophetic.
The strange thing was, is as they left the yard, Tina made some remark about he's going to live to regret this day he picked this man up.
Best thing that was the most prophetic thing that I've ever heard somebody say on this show. Top tier right there. And once again, here we go with the sweeping shot. Oh my God, look at how beautiful that is. We don't where I live, there are some hills, where I live. Nothing as beautiful as this. I would die to live in an area like this and still maintain my current job and pay and everything, and have a nice shot of mountains with snow on. How can you not look at that and just be in awe? Like I said, this is one of the reasons I love this case. They really wanted to go with with a very atmospheric,
It was like a sixth sense that this man was capable of anything.
Eight hours later, and 200 miles south of the 40-mile flat café, Eddie and Pauline Olson of Kitwanga, Canada, pulled over to help a stranded motorist.
Oh, wow, am I glad to see you guys. Hey, I think my car ran out of gas. I don't know what happened.
Now, I'm not sure if because I've kind of mentioned before, I kind of go into detail about how these cases are done, like how there's interviews given, and the information from the interviews given to the producers, and they craft the video and everything that you guys see. I kind of look at things that people say in some of these cases, and I'm thinking to myself, did they really say that, or is this just something that was kind of added to add extra, extra, what's the word I'm thinking of? Like extra gravitas to the video. How could somebody's car, now keep in mind, this guy, the person, well, here, let's do this real quick. The person here, let's do this. The person here, he killed Fraser. He was driving the vehicle. He knew how to drive a vehicle. How is it that he cannot tell the difference? Cannot tell when the car is empty of gas? So I'm not sure if that was actually something he said to these Samaritans who went to help him, or if this was just something that the producers decided to add to fill out a little bit of silence, I guess.
What happened was I stopped at the last gas stop, but it just quit. I'm on my way to college, and I've got all my stuff in the back of the car. And
You could tell he was nervous, but I thought that, well, you know, he was just scared of being out here this late at night, didn't want, you know, to stay out here because it's kind of a remote area.
That's actually kind of what I would love to live it. If it wasn't for the fact that I, have a job that requires me to be like in the heart of the city since I work in schooling and everything, I think I would love to have a home out in kind of the remote wilderness where basically I'm just kind of like living off the land itself, where I only go into the nearest town, once or twice a year. Otherwise, I have so much stuff I don't have to worry about it.
And at that point, I just said, well, I'll tow you home and we'll figure it out in the morning. Yeah, you can sleep down here. We've had quite a few people stay down here, and they have a pretty good sleep.
No, this will be great. I really appreciate everything you guys have done for me.
You can just pick out whichever couch you want there, and there's some blankets right there.
Okay.
Have a good sleep, and we'll see you in the morning.
All right, thanks. Sleep good.
I've never heard of, somebody, with the exception of this case, of course. I've never heard of somebody say sleep good. I always hear sleep tight, sleep tight or nice dreams or pleasant dreams or something like that. I never heard of them refer to it as sleep good.
He slept downstairs in our basement, and I have about 12 or 15 guns in a gun case down there.
That's right. You heard this guy correctly. He said that he had 12 to 15 guns in a case down there where the killer slept. Every time I hear this case, ever since the first time I heard this case all the way till now, I'm wondering why the killer did not use those guns on that family. Not that I'm encouraging it, because this guy already proved that the killer proved that they don't have a problem taking a life. Look what he did to Philip. He literally had everything there. He had, guns. He was already in the house. So all he had to do was literally go out of the basement into the house, late at night, and basically gun down the family. What is it about this family that he decided not to kill them? Why? I don't understand that. The only thing I can think of that maybe the reason he killed Philip, maybe it was because Philip originally told him no, that he wasn't going to give him a ride, that he was, when they first met, maybe that triggered the killer. And because of that, that's why he decided to end Philip's life. Because to this day, I still don't understand why he let this one family live.
And where he slept, the guns were just right beside him there. Oh, good morning. How'd you sleep?
Oh, I slept great, thanks.
Oh, sit down and have a coffee.
Oh, thank you.
Would you guys believe I actually don't drink coffee? I don't drink coffee. I try the only sweet liquids I drink once in a while. I'll have Kool-Aid, or I have hot chocolate. I drink hot chocolate, especially like in the winter. I haven't had any in the last couple of weeks, but I normally drink hot chocolate in the winter. I just don't drink coffee, and I got off of soda years ago, and boy, am I glad I did, because when I originally got myself off of sodas, I had such a massive, like, I'm not sure what you call it, but like, I don't want to say hangover, but it was like the withdrawals from caffeine. Once in a great while, I will have like one soda. I mean, it's like once every 4 or 5 months. I just prefer to drink either Kool-Aid or water, or I even have tea I can drink. But yeah, I just I don't drink coffee, and I don't drink soda that much.
The next morning, the young man told the Olsons that his parents were both doctors in Anchorage and that he was on his way to college in the States to study medicine.
And I really wanted to thank you guys.
Well, I got talking to him about his car, and he told me that if I was interested, he would sell it to me. And I said, well, I was interested because all he wanted was a plane ticket to Seattle. But I said, The only way I would buy it is if you waited till Monday and we went through customs. And he said that would be too late for him,
I
eh?
can't wait till Monday. I need to be in Seattle on Monday. I really can't wait. I really need to get going. Is there something I can do for your hospitality?
It seems like this guy from, now granted, we only know this guy because of the actor. We don't know the actual killer himself. But from the testimony of what the family, gave regarding the way that this guy acted, I can't help but wonder if this guy has like multiple personalities. On one hand, it sounds like he was a nice guy. He had 12 to 15 guns he could have used to inflict serious damage to this family, but he didn't. But on the other hand, he killed Philip Fraser. So I can't help but wonder if this guy has some sort of mental problem, I guess you could say.
The Olsons were surprised when the young man pulled out 2 wallets and began to behave secretively. He gave the Olsons $20 in American money, then left to fix his car.
Thank you.
Look at that. Look at that. I know this small little viewing window, it doesn't give the whole scope. Well, you have a little river here, or maybe it's a creek. I don't know what the difference is, but you have some running water here. You got the highway next to it in the background. You have, the tree line, which is obscuring another mountainous area. Oh my God, it looks so beautiful. It looks so beautiful.
Within an hour, the young man was back on the road headed south. The car trouble had turned out to be nothing more than a broken fan belt.
How do you confuse an empty gas tank with a broken fan belt? Hell, the oldest car I had out of the cars my mom left me was a 1990 Mazda 323. But I'm pretty sure that cars back in 1983, they had gas gauges built into them. How is it that this guy could not tell the difference between a car running out of gas and a broken fan belt? That's why I think that possibly the whole gas comment could have been added, after the interview and everything. The gas comment was just added to just kind of, like I said, fill out an empty period or a quiet stretch or whatever you want to call it.
12 hours later, the charred ruins of Philip Fraser's car were found at a car wash in Prince George, British Columbia, 300 miles from the Olsons' home.
The condition of the car after it was burned, it was almost totally gutted out on the inside due to the fire, and fire damage to the outside as well.
I don't understand why he would have destroyed the vehicle. He could have just stripped it of the license plate and all that. But who knows when it comes to criminals? Who knows why they do the shit that they do?
Nothing was found in the car of any significance. In fact, none of Philip Fraser's belongings have ever been found.
There's no possessions left inside.
The parents were contacted in Alaska, and there was a great deal of investigation done at that point, as Philip was considered a missing person and potentially a homicide victim.
I was sure that that there had been foul play, but I kept hoping, thinking of all sorts of alternatives, like maybe he decided he wanted to ditch his car and be in his own, and I knew, intellectually, I knew that was wrong because he really loved his car.
Yeah, I don't think that Philip would have been somebody. It sounds like he was really close to his parents anyway. I don't imagine Philip being somebody that would just ditch his car and leave his parents worrying about that. I don't see him being that type of person.
6 weeks later, a body was discovered in a gravel turnaround area 70 miles from the Olsons' home.
At the time of the discovery of the body, it was already well known about the incident of the car burning in the car wash in Prince George, and almost immediately investigators were looking at the remains being that of Philip Fraser. In order to do a positive identification, we required dental records from Alaska, which we obtained very quickly, and were able to make that identification.
I think, excuse me, any parent who loses a kid feels like he's lost part of himself. I think that's the...
I think I don't think it has to be like a murder or an accidental death or whatever. I think when either a child loses a parent or a parent loses a child, I think it does something to them on a very primitive level, I guess you could say, maybe a very basic level. My mom, she died of a heart attack. And to this day, I still haven't gone past it. I always think to myself, like, what would I have done if I knew was going to happen? I'm told, you can't deal with what ifs. But I think I think it doesn't just have to be a son dying. I think if, a parent or a child dies that, in that little close knit family, I think it does something to the rest.
One of the things you definitely feel, you feel like you aren't intact yourself. I think it's very difficult to describe it in words. You feel like your life and your family has been truncated, cut off.
I felt angry.
And that's okay. That's okay to feel angry. A person, a member of your family, or, I'm not even sure if you want to call it like a tribe, because I view families like tribes, like little close-knit groups, One of their own was brutally murdered. It's okay to feel angry. Hell, I'd feel rage. I would fucking be enraged. And the fact that if he was my brother and his killer was not located, I would be enraged even more. It's okay. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be enraged. The way society is nowadays, we try to tell people, oh, you don't need to be mad. You don't need to be angry because your loved one is better off. They're better off there in heaven. If you believe in heaven, they're at peace. It's your right to be angry. It's your right to be enraged. It isn't something you should be ashamed of. Somebody took this family's child. Somebody murdered one of their own. It is okay to be upset. It is okay to be enraged.
Bitter. And I wondered what sort of a person, what kind of a person would destroy someone who was so idealistic and so full of life.
What really happened along that lonely stretch of Highway 1? The Royal Canadian Mounted Police theorize that the
Okay, now something that I've always kind of wondered. Here's a shot of the two actors, Philip Fraser and the killer. I honestly wondered, like, during the making of these cases of Unsolved Mysteries, if, like, these actors, they play such close roles, like, say, the killer here and Philip Fraser, I can't help but wonder if by making these cases, these actors actually become good friends, I honestly wondered, like, if these two actors actually still talk to each other, or maybe if it was just like two ships passing, that it was just a job. They did their job and now they're gone, I would actually like to think that possibly that these two people, actually form a good friendship, behind the camera, off camera, whatever. And they actually wonder if hopefully that their contribution to the show one day actually leads to the arrest of the person who actually killed Philip Fraser.
mystery hitchhiker learned everything he could about Philip Fraser and then killed him. They believe the hitchhiker assumed Philip's identity, stole his possessions, and finally attempted to destroy the car.
In my mind, he most definitely is a dangerous person. He's taken one life. He has the capability of taking more. As to whether he's done this type of thing before, I couldn't say that, but we know he has taken one life. And
How can you not look like like I said? How can you not see something like this and just feel so relaxed when you can just see so much open wilderness like this?
I would consider him very dangerous.
These are composite drawings of the hitchhiker, based on the descriptions of Gay and Tina Frockledge and Eddie and Pauline Olson. He is Caucasian, about 5 feet 9 inches tall, and weighs approximately 225 pounds. He has a flabby belly which overhangs his belt.
Well, at least I know it's not me. Granted, I do have a big belly. I'm not gonna lie. I do have a big belly. But at least there's 2 reasons I know that this is not me. I know 2 reasons. Number one, this guy had hair. You know, like, look at this. You know, yeah. My head is so smooth you could put it like in a bowling ball polisher, shiner, whatever, you know, and it would come out even more shiny, you know. That, and also when Philip was sadly killed, I was only 6. So I'm kind of safe, you know.
And is between 20 and 25 years old. He has brown hair and brown eyes.
I used to have brown hair. I do have brown eyes, but it's not me. I know what you're thinking. Don't think it's me.
The authorities believe that the hitchhiker is familiar with the Toronto area and the Seattle, Washington area. He may be masquerading as Philip Innes Fraser. Among the items never recovered were Philip Fraser's birth certificate, visa, passport, and checkbook.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that was the case of Philip Fraser. It's actually a sad case because of the fact that it's never been solved. And that's why I like to cover these cases. It's because it, it keeps it keeps the light shining on it, you know. But yeah, this, like I said, not only is this a good case, you know, due to the actors and everything, but this was a very atmospheric, very isolated kind of case, you know. But let's go to the Unsolved Mysteries wiki and see if there's been any updates, shall we? We are at the portion of the video where I go to the Unsolved Mysteries wiki to see if there's been any updates. So let's do that right now, shall we? Let's do this. Oh, actually, I already have it here. Let's do this. Unexplained death. Here we go. Philip Innes Fraser. Okay, and then we'll do this. There we go. Okay, so Philip Innes Fraser. Real name was Philip Innes Fraser. Known nicknames. Location was not this. Kitwanga, British Columbia. The date was June 18th, 1988. I was still 6 years old. So before somebody says, Jeff, you have a fat stomach. Yeah, I have a fat stomach, but I was only 6 at the time. Okay, so we already know the case details, so I'm going to kind of scroll down by that. Here are the pictures of the individual as given by the Frockledge and Olson families. This is a composite of the suspect from motorists who were remembered giving him a ride. So I'm going to put the link to this case in the description. So if you would actually like to read more of this information, you can actually find the link in the description. Okay, extra notes. This case first aired on the January 15th, 1992 episode. Some sources spelled Fraser's first name as Philip with 2 L's and 2 I's. It was profiled on the Trail Went Cold podcast. You know, I've seen this, I've heard of this podcast a lot, but I've actually never went to look at it. Let's see here. Is there actually... Let's see here. I'm wondering, is it on YouTube? Actually curious if it's on YouTube. Trail went. Uh-oh. Oh, crap. Hold on, guys. Okay. I forgot I wasn't on the right screen when I did this. Okay, there it goes. I hope everything's still working. I didn't have the mouse on the right screen and activated all my hotkeys. I'm like, crap. Okay, anyway. The Trail Went Cold podcast. Is it on YouTube? I'm just curious. Wow. It is on YouTube. And they have 528 episodes. Wow. That's pretty respectable. Let's see here. When was their last? Now I'm not sure. Is it this person that, because it says it's created by Robin Warner, but the person who uploaded it is McGill Foot. Editor, motion graphics. Let's see here, videos. I'm just seeing if like when the last Trail Went Cold. Okay, so episode 409 of Trail Went Cold. It was actually 1 year ago. So it seems like possibly the podcast may either be it may be either, concluded, or they may just be on like an extended break. If it's concluded, that's kind of sad because there are so many unsolved mysteries that these guys could possibly cover. Okay, so results. Unsolved. The Canadian Royal Mounted Police stated in 2008 that there had been no significant developments to the case since the airing of the Unsolved Mysteries segment. Recently, there had been some speculation that Philip was the victim of a Canadian serial killer named Michael McGray. He murdered several hitchhikers around the time of Philip's death. He also matches the description of Philip's suspected killer. However, he has not been conclusively linked to this case, which remains unsolved. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police sources have stated that he was ruled out from being a suspect some time ago, and at the time of Philip's death, McRae was serving a 5-year prison sentence for a 1987 robbery. Well, there you go. If he's in prison or jail, they would know, if he was there or not. Sadly, Philip's father, Dr. Robert Innes Fraser, passed away on June 5th, 2014. And by watching the case, you could tell that his father was a nice, gentle person. Like I said, this planet devours the good people. It devours the good people. Okay, so we have Philip Fraser find a grave. If it'll ever load up. Oh, there it goes. I was starting to wonder if my computer was even online. Okay. Philip Innes Fraser. Date of birth was January 3rd, 1965. He was born in Anchorage, Alaska, USA. Date of death was June 18th, 1988. He was only 23 years old. Right now, I am almost double the age that this poor guy was when he died. I'm 44. I'm almost double his age. That's fucking sad. If he lived, can you imagine what he could have done? His date of death location was Stewart, Kitimat. It's in British Columbia. I'm sorry, I could not. I just could not. Sorry, guys. Burial, cremated. His ashes were scattered. Specifically, Philip's ashes were scattered over Otter Lake in Anchorage, Alaska. Oh, that's nice. When, he was the son of Ennis Fraser and Dr. Shirley L. Fraser, brother of Will Fraser. So he had brothers. I didn't realize he had brothers. Holy shit. And then the only parent that they have listed here is Robert Ennis Fraser. I'm curious if his mom is listed here. Let's see. There it goes. No, it's just his parents. Okay, let's go back. Okay, let's look at some photos, shall we? So we have this photo is from Unsolved Mysteries, as is this one. And I don't recall seeing this one on Unsolved Mysteries. It could have been from a newspaper article. Okay, so let's take a quick look at the person who may have killed, they suspect that he was the killer, but he was in prison, or he was interred, I guess you could say, or incarcerated, that's the right word, at the time. Michael Wayne McRae, born July 11th, 1965. So he was actually roughly the same age that Philip Fraser was. Philip was born January 3rd, and this guy of the same year, wow. Is a convicted serial killer, convicted of killing 7 individuals between 1985 and 1988. He claimed to have killed 11 others during the same time period. Early life, he was born in Collingwood, Ohio, but was raised in Argyle, Nova Scotia. Oh, that sounds like a cool place. Argyle, that sounds neat. And then it goes through his list of crimes, which there apparently seems to be a few here. The murder timeline of events. The murders include random attacks of strangers and killing of acquaintances. And as you can see here, he actually... Wow, even in 2010, his latest kill was in 2010, November 2010, of his cellmate, Jeremy Phillips, at the Mountain Institution in British. So this guy, he is continuing. It isn't like once he was apprehended and sentenced and incarcerated that he stopped. No, he is still killing people. And this is what scares me. Well, not British Columbia. The fact that this guy killed somebody in 15 years ago almost. Oh no, 16 years ago almost. One of these days, there's a chance that this guy could get released from prison or whatever institution or whatever. That runs a chill down my spine. This guy is still fucking active. But that is sadly the case, or the case wiki of Philip Fraser. Philip's dad passed away without ever getting any answers, and sadly, nothing has really come out of that yet. When I return, it will be with the episode information that this case was part of, so stay tuned, and I'll be right back. Okay, here, let me just get this taken care of over here. Boom. Okay, so this is the portion of the show where I do go to the episode information. Well, I've been kind of saying how I'm not sure if I'm going to be continuing to do this. This is something I'm just kind of slowly debating if I want to continue. Basically, this is where I go and I talk about when this case, debuted on television, if it's on YouTube, that sort of stuff. What cases are on the televised airing of Unsolved Mysteries, and if it differs from what the YouTube upload consists of. So let's do that right now, shall we? Okay, so we have the Philip Ennis Fraser case. We're back at the Unsolved Mysteries wiki. Basically, this was part of the January 15th, 1992 episode. I really should, one of these days, have some free time and do a set of favorites. That way I know exactly where to go. Okay, so 1992, January 15th, I think they said. So we're going to go to episodes. That sounds like it could be season 5. 92, 93, January 15th. Now, how far does this go? Let's see. Nope, we got to go back. So it's season 4, it sounds like. Season 4? Okay. Hate it when it does that. There it goes. So season 4. Season 4 starts off on September 18th, 1991. January 15th, I think they said it was. And that's the one thing I love about this website. It actually gives you an idea of like what each episode was, Here, let's just do it this way. There we go. Oh, February. Okay, so hold on. January 29th. Okay, here we go. So for the televised airing, this was part of the Philip Fraser case was part of episode 109. This is one thing that I've always been kind of like, they say episode 109, but normally the way it should be is like, should have been like, say, season 4 episode, like say 4 or 5 or whatever, But for some reason, for Unsolved Mysteries, they just kind of labeled all the episodes in continual order. So basically, instead of it being like, say, season 4 episode 10 or whatever, it is just literally episode 109, This aired, like I said, January 15th, 1992. We had 4 cases in this episode. We had the murder case, or the unexplained death, on both television and the YouTube uploads. I think they still refer to the murder cases as unexplained deaths. But we have Philip Fraser, the lost loves case of the Casey Nicole. I love Unsolved Mysteries that involve like boats getting lost and everything. There was like 3 cases of fishing crews getting lost. We had the Casey Nicole, the Sarah Joe, and there was another one. I can't recall what it was. Here, let's do some research. Fishing crew disappears. Unsolved Mysteries. I think there's 3. There's Sarah Joe. Let's see here. There's Casey Nicole. Okay, they only mentioned that one. Casey Nicole, Sarah Joe. And there was a third one. I could have sworn there was a third one. I may be wrong. I swear there's a third one. Does it actually mention? Let's see, Casey Marie. Let's see here. Maybe they'll list it like extra notes. Oh, they don't list it. Okay. Well, I was hoping that they would have had like maybe, let's see here. Sarah Joe? Nope, they don't even have like a mention of other missing boat crews. Okay, so let's do Sarah Joe. The crew that Sarah Joe. Here we go. And this was another one. And basically, it's kind of like the same idea. A fishing crew went missing. This one was off of Hawaii. So, oh yeah, I think there was another one where I was like, I think there was a Sarah, or was that part of the Sarah Joe? No, Casey Nicole. No, Casey Nicole was for adults, if I remember correctly. The third one, wasn't it the third one where a father and some of his kids, like the mother and father were divorced, and some of the kids went with the father onto the boat, and they all disappeared. Here, let's see here. Father and sons went fishing and disappeared. Unsolved Mysteries. The Liebling. That's what it was. This is actually one of the cases I covered a long time ago that Unsolved Mysteries actually had blocked on YouTube. So there was 3 cases. There was the Sarah Joe, Casey Nicole, and the Liebling. And basically, yep, here it is. Oh, Red Dixon. It was his son, Red Dixon, Rusty Dixon, oh my God, I'm remembering it now. See, it's all his kids. And then their friend, Mike Gorgon. Oh my God, I actually remember this now. Holy shit. But I was right. So there were 3 boating or fishing disappearances. Hold on, let me just see here. Has this one been solved? No, it's all of these boating cases are unsolved. Okay, but anyway, so let's go back to what I was originally talking about. So we had the case of the Casey Nicole, another classic, kind of claustrophobic, lonely kind of case and everything. We have the child of Mac McDonald. I vaguely remember this case. If I remember this case, I think this is the case of a child where, I think, isn't this the one where Mac McDonald, he ended up, he fled from the baby's mother because, he went to pay the baby's mother and the baby a visit, but the mother was there. The mother and Mac had like a very bad, the mother's mother, you know what I'm saying. They had a very bad relationship, and she threatened to basically press charges for statutory rape. Well, Mac went to I think it was either a hotel or her house or something one time, and the mother showed up, and Mac was afraid that he was going to be arrested, so he fled. But by this point, the grandmother, I should refer to her as the grandmother, I'm thinking her stance kind of softened a little bit, and she wasn't going to do anything, but Mac was still afraid that he was going to be arrested, and he ended up fleeing, and he got on his motorcycle and he left. Well, Mac McDonald, if I remember correctly, I think he became like a business owner. Let's take a look here. Is this the same one I think it is? It is. Oh, crap. Hold on, there it goes. He owned, let's see here. Does it say like what his, let's see here. Oh yeah, this is what I was talking about. 63-year-old Wilfred Boyd Mac McDonald is searching for his daughter, whom he was forced to abandon after his girlfriend's mother threatened to file rape charges against him. His story began in Pomona, California. But this is what I'm talking about. Has this one been solved? I can't recall. I think it has been, though. Yep, it has been solved. So that was the case of Mac McDonald. My memory isn't totally shot, ladies and gentlemen. It isn't totally shot. It's shot just a little. Okay. And then finally we have the case of, let's see here. William John Wood. I don't recall this one. It's a wanted case. See here. Maxwell Carson can have battery, bankruptcy, fraud, unlawful flight to avoid prosecution. Oh, this guy sounds like a bad dude. Wait, isn't this the guy who acted like a film producer or something, like a Hollywood? Let's see here. Film. Yeah. Carson begins holding auditions for a film, and he takes him to like a motel. Let's see here. Motel? Yeah. To meet him at a motel later. Okay, yeah. Okay, I remember this guy now. Real piece of shit this guy is. Real bad dude. Let's see. I can't recall. Was it solved? Yep, he is captured. He was captured in 1998. Good job, everybody. You got another piece of shit off the streets. Good going, everybody. But yeah, so those were the cases that actually aired on the January 15th. Come on. Wrong one. There it goes. Those were the cases that that aired on the January. God, I hate it when it does this. The January 15th episode of Unsolved Mysteries. Now let's go to YouTube, shall we? Oh, sorry, wrong way. YouTube.com. Philip Fraser, Unsolved Mysteries. Now, this is part of season 4, episode 15. And if I remember correctly, yep. Okay, so it was season 4 on both televised and the YouTube uploads. Now, see, I'm going to keep it muted due to copyright and everything. So let's see here. We have the case. So it starts off with. Okay, we're still in the intro. Okay, we have the. Let's. Okay, so we have the. Wow, hold on. There you go. We have the case of Philip Fraser. After that, we have the case of the Casey Nicole. Okay, so it's kind of going on along the same lines. Casey Nicole. Oh, Philip. I hate it when it does that. Okay, let's go back here. Philip Fraser, Casey Nicole. Let's see here. Is it the same? Let's see here. Okay, so we're still okay. So this is the Mac McDonald case, and that's basically the same here. So we got William John Wood. Let's see here. Okay, yep. There's William John Wood, and I think that is it for. Yep, that is it. Okay, so basically the YouTube and the YouTube upload and the televised airing was identical. Normally, sometimes on the producers of Unsolved Mysteries will remove like cases from the televised version for the upload, for the YouTube upload, and they will basically kind of move them around and make like a weird Frankenstein episode. This was not one of those cases. Now, let's go back to the labeling because I'm actually curious about that. But if I remember correctly, I think it's not on the YouTube uploads, which is sad because it hasn't been solved. Yep, it was excluded from the film rise release of the Robert Stack episodes, which I don't understand why. The case was never solved. But that is that. I'm pretty sure you could possibly find it on YouTube, but I'm not sure. But that was the episode information for that this case was part of, like you just saw here. The televised televised airing of this episode of Unsolved Mysteries is exactly the same that was for the YouTube uploads, just minus the commercials and all that. But that marks the end of another riveting installment of Unsolved Mysteries Commentary. This installment, we basically went over the case of Philip Fraser. Philip, he was brutally murdered by a individual that literally assumed his identity, not just his name, but he took Philip's name, he took his car, his belongings. He literally just overwrote everything that Philip Fraser actually was. To this day, we don't have any answers. The person is still literally out there in the wild. For all we know, he's continuing to kill people, but we're not sure. But that is the end of this installment. And I just want to say thank you to everybody who has taken the time to watch this. It means a lot to me. I know that I have a very small kind of niche audience when it comes to my Unsolved Mysteries videos, and I just want to say thank you. You guys are the reason I continue to do this, and one of these days I actually like to, hopefully I will see other people doing stuff like this, But I have one final case that I have planned that I wanted to cover in, coming up, and that is the case of Marlene Santana. Ooh, here, let me fix that. Actually, here, let me fix that. I didn't realize it was so big. Hold on. There we go. I present to you the case of Marlene Santana. Basically, this is a case that has garnered me a lot of hatred over the years because of the fact that I personally feel that this child. Actually, here, let me go back to the basics. Basically, in October 1983, I think it was. Here, let me just pull it up to make sure. Let's see here. October 21st, 1985, sorry. October 21st, 1985. Marlene Santana was born in Brooklyn, New York. Lovely little baby. Lovely little baby. She was born to Francesca Santana. I'm not sure what the father's name was. I don't know if they mentioned it or not. 3 days after Marlene was born, she was ultimately kidnapped when her mother and it was either two family members or two friends. I can't recall what their relation was to Francesca, that they were walking either to a pickup location or walking all the way back home. But during this time, Marlene was kidnapped at gunpoint. I do not believe that Marlene was actually kidnapped. I personally believe that Marlene was given to a family member because my personal belief is that Francesca and her family that basically they could not afford a third child. They already had two children, if I remember correctly. And because of this, maybe three children, it looks like, from this image that you see here. Maybe they could not afford a fourth child. So they basically did what a lot of us most likely would have done, was to give this child to a family member who they trusted. But you just can't give a baby away. You just can't give a baby away. So basically what happened was that they most likely concocted a story where Francesca and her associates were basically directed by a gun holding lunatic, and ultimately the baby was kidnapped. We will delve more into this case when it is time, but that's basically just my theory. I just personally think that this baby wasn't kidnapped, that she was given to a family, extended family that would care for her. I don't even think that she knows that she's Marlena. I think she's under a whole different name, and once in a while, Francesca may actually pay Marlena a visit without, letting Marlena know who she actually is. I wish I had a video, but there was no pre-show video promos for this case. There was no pre-case promos for this case. They literally just kind of shadow dropped this case into that episode of Unsolved Mysteries. But that is it. It's time, ladies and gentlemen. It is time to go, and I will see you next time for the next installment of Unsolved Mysteries Commentary. My name is Jeff, aka GCurse, wishing you all a great day. Stay safe, everybody. Peace out.